All right, so let me give you a quick overview of what your presentation should entail. So the first thing I want you to keep in mind is that your presentation should be about 12 minutes. Does it need to be 12 minutes on the dot? No, but it should be around 10 minutes, meaning that it should be in that 10 to 14-minute time range. If it's under 10 minutes, chances are it's too short and you didn't really go into depth with all those things. But if we go over 14 minutes, then we are taking time from other people who will be presenting in our group. So 12 minutes is the goal, and 10 to 14 is that window. So in thinking about what you're going to do in that 12 minutes, you're going to want to make sure that as you are sharing, that you have visuals to reinforce what's being shared. So I don't want it just to be you kind of sitting and talking for that full 12 minutes. There should be something on the screen that's kind of stimulating our thinking, that's helping us connect what you're saying to the point you're making. And I'll go over a little bit more about what those visuals should look like. The second thing I want you to think about is how you are going to incorporate active learning from the group. So the idea is that your group who is listening, you're going to be sharing with 3 other people, that they're not just sitting there sleeping at their computer, just being passive listeners, but you want to get them active. I don't care if you are going to be a future teacher or if your degree is outside the College of Education. You know, we know that the more engaging we can be in presentations or as teachers, the more learning that is going on. So this isn't just you kind of showing off, you're teaching your group about your topic. So we want to make sure that it's active. And we'll go over some different ways that you can make your project interactive in a moment. So let's talk about the meat and potatoes of your project. What should be in that presentation? Well, I want you to begin by giving an overview of that collection and sharing why you selected that topic. So for example, if I was doing the topic of friendship, I would talk really briefly about, okay, so this topic is on friendship, and these are the different things it includes. And when I say friendship, this is what I mean by the word friendship. And then I'm going to give a rationale for why I selected that topic, why I think it's so important to build a collection around it. After that, you're going to give a book talk for 2 different books in your selection. So you have 10 to 15 books that are going to be in this collection. We don't have time for you to tell us about all 10 to 15, but I do want you to go in depth and tell us about 2. Now, when I say a book talk, I don't mean a book report. You're not going to summarize that book for us. If you tell us everything that happens, we're not going to want to read it. But this is where you're going to take more of a critical stance, right? You're going to evaluate it. Let us know what you think makes this book outstanding and why you put it in your collection. So thinking again about literary merit, artistic merit, representation, and even telling us a little bit about your own personal response, right? We talk about that aesthetic stance, our personal response. That's so important too. Don't forget about that. So 2 book talks. And we're doing a book talk today, so chances are you might include that book talk as one of the 2 that you'll give. And then I want you to share a rationale for why this collection should be presented to children in your community, right? So I've had this collection on friendship. So why should it be in your classroom? Why should it be in your library? Why should it be in your home? Think about it almost as an elevator pitch. Sell us on your present, or sell us on your collection. Why should we have it, in our community? And then finally, describe your process of finding and selecting books. I think this is really valuable, right? Because we all have our own style and we all have our own criteria of how we look for books. So share with us your process. What's important to you when you're looking at children's books? And then how do you go about finding these things? So there on the screen, in a nutshell, are all the different components that should be in your presentation. If you want to do some other different things in addition to that, go for it. But that's what I'm asking is the minimum. So let's talk a little bit more in detail about the visuals, right? That second box there. So there is a tendency when we do presentations that everything we say is also on the screen. Like if I did a raise your hand right now and I asked how many of you have ever gone to a class where everything your teacher says is in bulleted points on the PowerPoint. I mean, I'm going to raise my hand. That's happened to me a ton, and it's not just, you know, with other professors. It's when I go to conferences or when I'm doing presentations with my own peers. And we know that that's not the best way to give presentations. It causes something called information overload. And here's what happens. You're better off not having a visual, or you're better off not being there. Because when the same information is given to us in two different ways at the same time, our brain can't process it. So if you are someone who likes to write out everything you're going to say in your PowerPoint presentation, copy and paste that and put it in your notes down below. Put it in your presenter notes so you can see those bulleted points, but your group isn't staring at it. Because here's the reality. Your group's not going to listen to you. They're going to be reading your slide, and it's as if you weren't there. You're important. We want to make sure that they're hearing you. So instead of having all those bulleted points, I want you to have images or symbols or keywords on the screen that reinforce what you're saying. This is the best. So if I'm going over my definition of family, or if I'm going over my definition of friendship or activism, whatever my topic might be, instead of having that definition on the screen, I might have some pictures that highlight what that definition means, that shows these different parts of it. So again, my recommendation is use more visuals, less text in your presentation. All that text, put it down in your notes for you to view later. So the second thing I want to talk to you about is how to incorporate active learning from the group to get them involved in your presentation. So we're going to do some of our own active learning here in thinking about this. So I want you to ask yourself, kind of consider, how would you engage your group in your presentation? And to share with me, I'm going to have you go to this website called Answer Garden, and this is a free website that you could use yourself. Yes, Mackenzie said Slido. Slido is very similar to Answer Garden. So I'm going to have you go to that Answer Garden website and type in your response of what's a way that you think you could engage your group in your presentation. So Mackenzie's already given us an example that we could use Slido. So go ahead, type in those responses. You can see them coming through. And I'll pop them over here so we can see them all. So it looks like Kahoot is a very popular response. And just to be fair, there's some responses from yesterday's class that are there too, so you get the benefit of seeing theirs. So yeah, doing something like a Kahoot. Putting in a poll is really popular. So you could use a website like Answer Garden, like I have here. You could use a website called Slido, and that's just slido.com, and that's a free website as well. Also in Blackboard, there's the ability for you to do a poll as well. Let me show you real quick how you can do a poll yourself in Blackboard. All right. So I'm entering a Blackboard classroom just to kind of show you where you can do this. So when you're in Blackboard and you want to do a poll with your group, hit that Open Collaborate panel, and you're going to hit this square here where it says Share Content. And there's going to be an option for you to do polling. So you could click that polling button. You could choose multiple choice, yes or no. You can type in your question, and then your just different choices here. I could add more, hit start, and then that's going to pop up for your group to respond to. So there is a poll feature for you right in Blackboard that you could use. So that's pretty handy. So you could do a poll. You could just ask questions throughout. I love this. let's see, frequently asking questions, ask if they know any female musicians. This is great. So this is, I know Addie, she's doing a presentation on she's doing a collection on female musicians. So asking your group, hey, do you know anything about this? I know Carly, for instance, is doing it about acceptance on the first day of school. So she might begin by having people recall the first day of school. So lots of different options here. So let me give you a few other examples of kind of my go-to things for active learning. You might have the group draw a symbol or a picture to represent their definition. So if my topic was family, before I tell them how I define family, I might say, so I'm building a collection, so my collection is on family. Before we begin, I want to give you 1 minute, and at home, draw a quick symbol of what family means to you. Then everyone in the group could share, and you could build on their answers of how your collection addresses those different things. So that's an idea. You could do an activity like I see, I think, I wonder. Now, if you remember, we did this when we looked at the infographic on diversity and representation, but you could also do this with the cover of your book. So before you introduce your topic, maybe you hold up a picture book that really kind of showcases what your topic is, and you ask your group to jot down, okay, so what are you seeing on this cover? What does it make you think, and what do you wonder, right? So it's getting your group thinking about it. Or you might do it before a book talk. You could have your group do a quick write. So a lot of you said ask a question. So pose a question and give the group 30 seconds to do a quick write and have a short conversation about it. And then as we've talked about, you could have them take a poll. So these are some different examples of how you're going to get your group active and involved, right? We want your group, to leave and being like, wow, I learned a lot because they were active in it. All right, so let's go over kind of the fine details of the presentation of when it's going to be and what it's going to look like. So our presentation is during our final exam time. So this is our last regular class, and after this class, we actually go into final exams. I can't believe that. So the time for your presentation is during our set-aside final exam time. So it's going to be different than when we usually meet. It's going to be on Monday, April 26th, from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. I highly recommend that you put that into your calendar, set a reminder, set an alarm so you don't forget. And we're not going to be meeting in the online classroom like we usually do. Instead, you're going to be meeting in your online designated room. So when you go into our online classroom, you'll notice that it says room A, B, C, D, E, F. Let me show you here real quick. Here's our online classroom where we usually go, but then there's all these other rooms as well. Well, each of you have been assigned to one of those rooms. I'll put it on the screen now. So you'll go to that room. So at 11:30, Miranda, Lexi, and Lauren H., you would all go to room A. And then once you're in that room, you're going to have an hour together to share your presentations. And I'm going to be there, but I'm going to be hopping through the different rooms. So don't be surprised if I pop in. I'm going to be rotating throughout the rooms, but I won't be able to be there for the whole time. So once you're in that room, here are my directions for you. You're going to log on to Blackboard. Oops, and let me change that. That's a small typo right there. The beauty of doing this, having too many classes. Okay, sorry about that. You are going to log on to Blackboard and enter your assigned room before 11:30 a.m. All right, so don't get there right at 11:30. Get there a few minutes before, so your whole group is ready to begin at 11:30. So once you are all there, you are going to turn on your cameras and you're going to greet one another. All right, so you're greeting each other with your cameras on, checking in, seeing how everyone is doing. Once you've greeted everyone, I'm going to ask that the person whose name is highlighted in yellow, you are going to hit the record button in your session, and then you're going to begin presenting. So I'm going to pretend I am Miranda for a second, and if I was Miranda, I notice that I'm in room A. So I'm going to go into room A, join that session. I'm greeting Lexi, and Lauren. We've all said hello. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this button over here, the menu button where it says open session, and Miranda's going to hit that start recording button. And I know it's recording when I see the red camera there. That's letting me know, okay, it's being recorded. So again, you'll hit that menu button and you'll hit that recording button, and you'll know it's recording by seeing that button there. And the reason I have you do that is I can't be in all presentations, and I recognize that you guys are putting a lot of work into this. So I want to be able to fully appreciate it. So that allows me to go back and look at your presentations after. So Miranda, Anita, Meg, Danielle, Adina, Emily, that's your job. You're going to hit that record button, and then you'll begin presenting. You're the first name on the list, so I'll have you present first. So that's one role. The person who's highlighted in green, you're going to act as the timekeeper for each presentation. And so you want to ensure each presentation is kind of in that 10 to 12 minute mark. So you want to make sure that they at least go for 10 minutes. And once they get to 12 minutes, you might just say, hey, you're at that 12-minute mark. So if I was Lexi and Miranda's, she's hit that record button, she's presenting, maybe Lexi gets at that 12-minute mark. Yes, Lauren, that should say 11:30 on the screen, not 12:30. All the slides are going to have that typo, so I'm sorry about that. Yes, there, that makes it less confusing. Lexi is going to act as the timekeeper. And so if Miranda hits that 12-minute mark, she's just going to politely turn on her microphone and say, hey, Miranda, you're at 12 minutes. So Miranda knows that it's time for her to begin wrapping up. So that's that person in green's role. And then I have one more job that I'd like someone to do, and that's the person in blue. So the person in blue, after the person has finished sharing, you are going to invite questions or feedback for the presenter after the presentation. So again, I'm going to pretend I'm in room A. Miranda has just finished friendship. Lexi has said, hey, you're at that 12-minute warning. Miranda finishes up. And then Lexi's going to ask the group, hey, does anyone have any kind of questions or wonderings for Miranda? So your job is to kind of instigate conversation after. We don't want Miranda to finish and there being nothing to say. So you might ask, does anyone have any wows or wonders? What would you like, what are some things you think? And so anybody in the group can present feedback. So it's not just Lexi that's providing feedback. The other Lexi and Lauren would also be giving feedback. Lexi's just initiating that. So here in this group, Mackenzie's just asking like, hey, does anyone have any feedback? And then Carly and Lakin could give Meg feedback on her presentation. Your job is just to kind of ask that question to make sure we don't forget. Thanks for asking that question, Taylor. And so you'll just present in the order listed, and once you go through everyone, then you guys are done to sign out, and once everyone signs out, that recording stops. So any questions about the presentation format?